Hey, do you think you are inadequate or feel inadequate to do God's calling? Well, stay tuned and I'll explain why God uses nobodies to reach everybody in your community through you. Hit the intro.
Free as a bird in the sky, that is what you are. Breathe and you know you're alive. Feel the beat of your heart. Well, life is a crazy way of turning everything upside down. So move with the time that you have. The world will keep spinning round. Don't wait for tomorrow. Live for today. Keep chasing the sunshine and go out and play.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Your Time with Brian, and I am your host, Brian himself. And today we're going to talk about ways, although we can feel inadequate, how God can use us. No matter where we are in life, what we're doing in life, how old we are, how young we are, if we're male, female, it doesn't matter. God can use you just where you are. You don't have to be a Hollywood movie star. You don't have to be an Instagram famous person or YouTube host. All you got to do is be available for God to use you right where you are. If you look through the Bible, God used the most inadequate people, the most unqualified people throughout the book. He didn't use a prince or princess or a king at the first hand. I mean, David, a few went on to be kings, but he used the people of inadequate, the people lower on the totem pole. He used fishermen. He used shepherd boys. And the reason why he used people of that nature is to prove his power and his ability to use us. We discussed in the last video about how he used me, or how he's using me in the way of my weakness. Well, that's the thing about God, and that's the awesome thing about God, is he can use your weakness for his strength. So we got to be available, but it's not based on our ability. Because a lot of times I feel inadequate. Every time I do a youth, every time I do a vlog, every time I get up and preach, I feel like I did the worst job ever. I feel like I prepare as little as possible. Sometimes I feel, well, I'm not as smart as the next person. And, I aim to be the best for God and to be a blessing. But sometimes I leave and the devil say, hey, look, you didn't do that good of a job. And then the thing is, the devil keeps whispering in your ear saying, hey, people are just telling you you're doing good because they feel sorry for you. Or hey, they just telling you you do good because, they don't want you to get down. Well, that's not true. Because God is using you no matter what the devil is trying to tell you. Because the devil is going to try to persuade you otherwise. I mean, he did that to Adam and Eve at the very beginning. He persuaded them, hey, there's better things out there, when they had it made at that time. But the devil has this ability to persuade you. The devil has ability to persuade you to feel inadequate. And this is mostly for the youth out there. If you feel like you are too young, God does not care about how old you are. Because if you look in the Bible at the story of Josiah, when he became king, he was eight years old. He wasn't 20, he wasn't 30, he wasn't 40, he wasn't 50. He was 8. How much do you think he feels inadequate? How much you think he felt he didn't know enough? Probably a lot. But God used him as a tool to lead Israel back to repentance. So, and you look at the Bible, he used John the Baptist to bring in Jesus. And John the Baptist, he lived in the wilderness, basically homeless. He ate locusts. So, I mean, God used him. He used the disciples. Most of those was fishermen that we touched on in previous videos. He used David, who was the smallest, the youngest of the brothers, and he was a shepherd, not in the military or nothing, a shepherd. He shepherded sheep, and used him to kill a giant and later on became a king. He used Moses after Moses killed somebody and was in the wilderness for 40 something years, and used him to lead Israel out of Egypt. So no matter what your past is, because the past sometimes can keep us from serving God. Sometimes, and that's where that devil can come in and say, hey, look at what you've done in the past. God doesn't care about your past. That's why he died on the cross for you. He died on the cross for you so we can be forgiven of our sin. So God is not a God of the past. He's God of the future. So we don't need to dwell on our past, because if we dwell on our past, then we're robbing our future. And also, we got to learn to forgive, because a lot of times, when we have hatred in our heart, it's hard to be used by God, because, when you don't have love, what do we have? Have hate, the opposite of love. Listen to what John 13 says. A new commandment I give to you, that you love one another just as I love you. You also are to love one another. And the second thing is we got to be obedient to God. A lot of times we get caught up in what we can and what we can't do, and what we want to do and what we don't want to do, and it's hard for us to be obedient. If we learn to be submissive to God and obedience to God, God can use us above our imagination. Even through our inadequate feelings or insufficient feelings, God can use each and every one of us. And most important is we got to learn to pray and meditate on his word, because a lot of times that's when he speaks to us. I know when I'm doing devotion in the morning time, that's when he speaks to me about the vlogs that I need to do, or when I was doing youth, about what to do to youth, or sometime when I'm going down the road and I'm listening to worship music and praising him and worshiping him in my car. I even I feel like he speaks to me or gives me a word to say, like he did that one day that I preached. So if we dwell in his presence, he'll speak to us without doubt. So no matter how inadequate you feel, God can use you and will use you. All we got to do is be open to what he's calling us to do and listen to his his voice. Until next time, I hope you be blessed. If you like the video, subscribe, like, and we'll see you next time.